All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Hard Carry Podcast. We're gonna jump into VCT Masters day one, go over some of the four games, go over some of the odds, go over some of the stats, and who I think is gonna win. And hopefully, you guys enjoy it. So we'll start off day one. You got DRX versus Zeta. Um, it's you got DRX as the clear favorite, 1.13, 531. For those of you that don't know the odds, you basically have to bet $100 on DRX to only win $13. So, I mean, they're the clear favorites, and rightfully so. Coming into it, they're the clear number one team coming out of North Korea. You look at their stats that I have on this sheet. Um, I mean, it's just ridiculous. 75 plus KAST, which is kill assist, survival, or trade percentage. So they basically take all the rounds they've played, and if they got a kill, they got an assist, they survived the round, or they got their death traded. That's the percentage. So that's 81%. I mean, all of them 75 and above is ridiculous. Their clutch percentage is all over 20, except for Buzz, who's at 19. Kills per round. I mean, it's just across the board. They're just even. They're a great team. They play together. 190 is the lowest combat score on the team. 250 being the highest. They're the number one team out of Korea. They dominated Korea, and they're a really good team. Definitely can make some noise come after they qualify. Zeta's not a bad team, but you do have some lower guys. Crow definitely stands out as like a clear weakness for that team. 4% clutch percentage, only 0.5 kills per round. ADR only sitting at 100.88 KD. So they do have a clear weakness. 148 combat score, but they do have four great players. I think the Korean teams are a little bit better than the teams Zeta's faced. So I'm gonna lean DRX as a heavy favorite. 2-0 fashion for sure. Second match, excuse me. Second match, Optic versus XER. Uh, Pull up the match page real quick. Optic in its own right is a clear favorite for their own reasons. They're a top three North American team. They 2-0'd Guard, and then Guard came back and won 3-2 in a best of five to qualify as the number one North American team. So Optic's not a bad team in its own sense. They're definitely a top two team, top three if you want to argue Cloud9. So if you want to look at this matchup, Optic versus XCR, XCR second place. They in the Asian Pacific, they lost 3-2 to Paper Rex. They're not a bad team, but again, Optic's just a ridiculous powerhouse in North America. XCR hasn't faced really anybody at their level of competition yet, and they're gonna get tested for sure. Scary and Surf, that 243 and 230, that's not gonna suffice against Optic. They they really don't have a weakness. The teams that they played at in their bracket, they definitely fared decent against, but again, they didn't play Optic, they didn't play Guard, they didn't play G2, they didn't play Fnatic and all these other teams. So I think Optic 2 is for sure. XDR is not going to stand a chance against them, and it's just David versus Goliath. So Optic 2-0, DRX 2-0 is the first two games. Um, April 11th, you got Liquid versus Crew. Liquid's only here because FPX can't make it, so they're playing as a fill-in. Liquid shouldn't be here, but they're here, so um, they are a better team than Crew, and rightfully so. They're coming out of the European group, and Crew dominated. I mean, Kesnet's a ridiculous player, 265 and a 171 ADR. I mean, he's definitely the best player on their team, so he's gonna. I think he's gonna be able to get some kills against Liquid, but it's not gonna be enough. I'm leaning Liquid 2-0, but I'm gonna give Crew the benefit of the doubt and say they can at least take one map off of Liquid. I'm not a huge fan of Liquid by any means. I honestly don't think that they're capable of winning anything if they do qualify, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to Liquid 2-0, but I wouldn't be surprised if Crew 2 wins them. I mean, if you look at the stats, Scream's the only one over a 200 combat score coming out of Europe. And while Europe is a very hard group to play out of, um, it's just you see that they're not as good against great competition. So I do think they are better than Crew though. So I'm gonna lean to a Liquid 2-1 if Crew can step up and make some plays. So the fourth match isn't on here, as you can see. It's because Fnatic they have two plans. Their star uh, their star player has COVID, I believe, and the other guy's suspended. So they're playing with Fearoth and Hyber as their fill-ins, and I mean when you lose the star, I just don't see you being as good as you were. So um, Dirk was the duelist, and you can see 236, 276 combat scores. Those two duelists, and your next closest is 207, 182, 179. So you lose that. I mean, these three guys are capable, and I think it will show against NIP. But at the end of the day, you're losing your number one. So uh, I do think NIP is a good team, but they do have clear weaknesses. BNJ, 0.8, Bezin, 0.96, John, 0.96, and Fnatic, 0.82, 0.92. Fnatic's coming out of Europe. NIP didn't really play that high of competition. So NIP barely made it. They were the last team to qualify. Fnatic, they were the number 2. So with Fnatic losing those two guys, I think they're going to get tested early. I think NIP are capable. Do I think NIP can win it? Definitely. I think if the odds were up, it'd be a very close match, given the two fill-ins. But I'm going to lean Fnatic 2-1 fashion over NIP. Like I said, NIP is definitely going to make it close, but NIP is going to, they're going to win. Or, I mean, Fnatic's going to win. So, Fnatic 2-1 over NIP. And then if you look at the, let me bring it back up. If you look at the group stage, so the way they have it is two groups. These four teams. Fnatic and DRX. I'm gonna lean DRX easy qualifier. I'm gonna go Fnatic as the second qualifier just because of their experience, and even though they are down 2, they'll still qualify against that in IP. Optic clear qualifier number 1. I'm gonna lean Liquid as the second qualifier just because of the quality of teams they've faced. And I think they're going to pull it out regardless. They'll be the second qualifier in the losers bracket. Do I think Fnatic or Liquid can win a match in playoffs? Absolutely not. If one of them played G2 or the guard, they're getting smoked. Paper Rex, I think Liquid might be able to compete with Paper, but Loud. Loud's my surprise team in this tournament. Coming out of Brazil, they're clearly, I mean, like if you look at their stats, 263, 227, 226, 221, 203, like 3 guys at 0.8 KST and above, 0.7, 0.79. They're just ridiculous. I mean, they're clearly the number 1 Brazilian team, and it's not even close. And then I think that they are capable of taking some rounds and surprising some of these guys. FPX not being here, I would put them as my clear favorite, but unfortunately they're not able to make the tournament for stuff that's way out of their control. G2 I would put as a top 2 favorite with the guard, and then Optic a very close third. But Loud, I'm definitely going to put them in at number 4, and I think they can make some noise against these top 3 powerhouses. So we'll see how it plays out, but don't sleep on Loud. But yeah, for day 1, definitely DRX, Optic, Liquid, and then FNC 2-1. They're my 4 plays for day 1, and we'll jump back into it once groups are finished and see how it plays out. But I appreciate you guys watching, and if you guys enjoyed it, drop a follow, subscribe, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Deuces.